Hi there, welcome to another exciting computer lecture from San and I. Today we're going to talk about the 1932 presidential election. So this is the first election during the Great Depression. So it's kind of a big deal who we elect. Who will save America? We want to pick a guy that's really strong and that we think will get us out of the Great Depression. So by the end of this lecture, you should know the two candidates for the election and who won and why they won. So kind of pay close attention to these two guys. Okay, here we go. Oh, maybe this guy will save America.
Who knows? Alright, so it's kind of a big job. You can't imagine jumping in the middle of the Great Depression when everyone's miserable. So the two people running are Hoover and FDR.
Now remember, Hoover gets elected actually in 1928 too, right before the stock market crash. So people already kind of think bad about Hoover. They think that he is the reason for the Great Depression, even though that's not true. So he's going to have kind of a tough time running against FDR because people just automatically don't like him. So I will play the part of Hoover.
Okay, and I will be FDR.
Okay. You go FDR.
Okay. Pick me, America. I don't shoot veterans.
That was a low blow, FD lame-o. Just because the ladies like you doesn't mean you can save the U.S. Let's do this.
Bring it, you Sally.
Oh, it's already been brought. We think we're hilarious.
All right, so we're going to talk about the traits of each guy. So let's talk about Hoover first. So Hoover was a great engineer. He was very smart. He was good with numbers and figures. So you'd think that he'd be pretty good in this type of money situation, but he wasn't.
Yeah, and he's almost like so smart, he's socially awkward. So he's really stubborn, he's very rigid and cold feeling. When people are around him, they just don't like him. They don't really want to talk to him. He's just weird. He's like too smart.
He is a humanitarian, which technically means that he likes to help people get out of tough situations, which again makes it seem like he would be good in this Great Depression situation, but he wasn't.
He's a Republican with a Democratic Congress, which means it's hard for him to get anything done because the Democratic Congress will put down any ideas that he has, and he vetoes any ideas they have.
His motto is rugged individualism. So he believes in people doing things for themselves and helping themselves out of tough situations. So no federal support from the government to these people, no private charity for people, and no individual help for these people. So he believes that if you want something done, you should get it done yourself.
Now, during the Great Depression, that's not really what people want to hear, right? Now, FDR is the opposite of Hoover. FDR isn't super intelligent, but he's very personable. People just like to be around him. He's really confident. He had a disease called polio, which is debilitating, which means it takes away your ability to walk and to function correctly. But he beat polio, and so people think that that's really awesome. Like, wow, this guy can beat a terrible disease. And so they automatically have a little more faith in him.
He wanted to reform capitalism, so he thought the way the government was going was not getting things done and not working for the American people. He didn't want to get rid of the way things were going, but he wanted to change it and make it better.
Now, here's the key to FDR. His wife, Eleanor, really does all of the brain power behind him. She's super smart. And so he comes to her with an idea, and she figures out the logistics, and he presents it to the public because everyone likes him. And if you've ever seen Eleanor, she's not super attractive, so they're a good team together that way.
He's a Democrat with a Democratic Senate and a Democratic House. So unlike Hoover, if he were to become president, then he would get a lot more things through Congress because they're working together and have the same ideas.
His motto is a New Deal for America. So he's going to give programs to help relieve the Great Depression, and to make sure that he reforms things so another Great Depression never happens again.
Okay, so here's how Hoover was in when it started. So here's how he is handling the Great Depression when he's president. He's convinced businesses to not cut payroll. So he is not having people that do have jobs, he's not cutting back on the amount of money they make.
He's also asking the bosses not to cut payrolls, but he's also asking the workers not to ask for higher wages. So he's kind of equaling things out there. And he's making borrowing easier. So if you need a loan during the Great Depression, he makes it easier for you to get one from the government.
He set aside $800 million for public works. So this is designed to put people to work, get people jobs, working outside, fixing things. And this is where the Hoover Dam comes in, right?
Yeah. In fact, he names it after himself, and he puts thousands of people to work on the Hoover Dam, which when you don't have a job is a really good thing. He also passed the Home Loan Bank Act so people could pay for their mortgages. So it just helps people keep their houses, which again is a good thing. He also established the Reconstruction Finance Corporation. Now that gives loans to banks and railroads, but we know that banks and railroads are just run by really rich and sometimes shady people. So who benefits there are rich people. So that's kind of his downfall. Sorry, we had a slight interruption, but we're back. He loved the trickle-down theory, which means he loves giving money to rich people and hoping that it trickles down to the poor people. But did that work?
No, it did not.
You should say no, too.
All right, so here's how FDR, if he becomes president, he's going to handle the Great Depression. So again, he likes this New Deal idea. He wanted to bring American government into the lives of every American. So he wanted to make the government available to everyone. He wanted the government to get these people out of the worst time of their lives.
Now, that's never happened before. Usually government totally stays out of people's business. But he's the first president to say, no, the government should be there to help people. And people are very excited about this.
So what was the New Deal? His idea is he's gonna provide welfare and relief to the American citizens. And 50% of the population took advantage of these programs that he set up. So maybe you guys have all heard of welfare before, but again, it's the government giving money, helping people out, giving them support during this tough time.
But San, why would only 50% of the population take him up on this?
That's a phenomenal question. I'm not sure.
Well, if you remember yesterday, we were talking about how during the Great Depression, everyone blamed themselves, right? So 50% of the population thought, I'm not taking the government money. Like, this is my problem, and I'm going to fix it. So even though everybody in the country was miserable, only 50% of the population was humble enough to take money from the government. Everybody else wanted to do it themselves.
So there are two parts to the New Deal. The first part is this relief and recovery. So it's the first thing that's going to be put into place. We need to relieve these people and help them get back on their feet. So it's giving these people money, giving them jobs immediately, giving them food, because many of these people are just living in the park in a shack because they have nothing. So he's going to give them immediate relief.
And then once he keeps people alive, he'll reform or fix the government so it never happens again. So he's going to put in things to watch those shady bankers and take care of farmers and all that stuff. So first, help people stay alive and then fix it so it doesn't happen again. Oh, Hoover. Hoover has a rough go at things. You watched a video on Wednesday where you saw that Hoover ordered the Army to shoot at World War I veterans. They were just coming and peacefully protesting to get their bonus money from World War I. And he ends up killing 2 veterans, which are like gods back then, and a baby. So that doesn't look good. A baby?
What?
Yes.
Just the worst. Another big thing about Hoover is that people start to kind of make fun of him. So think of it, he's the president of the United States, and people are naming terrible things after this guy. So they put Hoover in front of everything that was bad. So people are living in the park, they're living in little shacks because they lost their homes. So people would call those Hoovervilles because they hated them and they hated Hoover, so they called it Hooverville.
Hoover flags were your empty pockets that were sticking out of your jeans because you had no money in them.
And then people in the park that were living there had to cover themselves with newspapers because they had nothing. So they called newspapers Hoover blankets.
Oh, Hoover. He just sucks.
So that's where we get the Hoover vacuum, because vacuums suck and so does Hoover. Not even kidding, right?
Right.
Totally true. All right.
So what we want you to do today is to see if you can help FDR win the presidency. FDR, again, was very personable. Kids love him in a non-creepy way. Adults love him. So when you're done with this, we'll have you, I think we're going to have you watch a short video clip on FDR, and then we will have you complete this assignment. Thank you so much for listening.
You're just the best.
Yeah.